Well, it's Monday.
And it makes me cry.
I got a fun little video for us to look at here. This, I guess kind of went viral over the weekend. Definitely a hard, strong push from a lot of people to create a viral moment. Okay, that's okay. But, we're trying to get our little media career going here, and,
That's fine.
So this guy, he's one of these, what is his name? Matt Walsh. He's one of these Daily Wire third or fourth stringers. You got, this is the hierarchy of the Daily Wire. Ben Cipino, and then just whatever else congealed.
And then we dived into the pronoun question. Let's watch.
There should be no construct of gender, just sex. You're either male or female.
Right.
And someone feeling in a mental, emotional way that they don't identify with the sex that they have been biologically created as, if they don't feel that way, that there's no construct that describes that, experiences that.
Well, that's got nothing to do with the reality. So you can feel however you want. I mean, I could sit here and say that I feel like a tomato plant, but that doesn't mean that I'm actually in those things. So your self-perception, you can have whatever self-perception, theatrical production.
The beginning of the rise of the Antichrist.
I love Dr. Phil is like this old man. You know, he's always kind of half falling asleep. He's like, so what you're saying is, let me get, what?
Okay. Adderall is speed. Really?
But Dr. Phil, despite his decrepit fossil status, he's like, let me get a trans person on, and then a guy who doesn't like trans people to stir some shit. I like to stir up the pot.
Stir some shit.
What's funny about this is when I was watching it, nobody really seemed to be on his side. You know, I think that's kind of Dr. Phil's audience, is that they're just sort of like, they're kind of on board with these most basic social issues. They kind of understand it. So didn't seem like too many people were on this guy's side. But then I look at the comments. So this is on the Dr. Phil YouTube page. Matt killed it. We need more people like Matt. The sane majority has been listening to their delusion for a long time. Matt did a great job. Matt Walsh is absolutely correct. Matt Walsh is spot on and did a wonderful job. Matt was a pleasure to watch. So good to see a show like this having someone like Matt on to be a voice of reason. We need more people like Matt. Matt is an American hero. Are these legit comments? I would not put it past. I mean, we could go through all the arguments that have already been done over and over again on this issue, that if on Bring Your Parents to Work Day, right, which I think should be a real thing. This is my pep, and this is my Mima. They're here, and they're just walking around touching everything. If you did Bring Your Parents to Work Day, you know, and you're like, this is my Mima and pep, and one of your coworkers is like, hey, they don't really look like you, those parents. They're both 8 feet tall, or they're both dwarfs, and you're not a dwarf, or whatever. You know, if there's somebody who really needs to get to the bottom of, those are not your real parents. I found out that those are not your biological parents. You were not, this is a medical term, pooped out. You were not peed out by one of them, so those are not your parents, and I'm not going to call them your parents. Those two strangers. So it almost comes down to, like, are you able to function in a society? Do you have, like, a sort of minimum social intelligence? Would be, like, where the rubber meets the road on this. And I would say for a lot of the fans of this guy, and I kind of don't buy that he believes any of this, but let's just assume that he does, himself as well. This is just a straight up, like, you're not good at sort of functioning socially in the world.
And it makes me cry.
But, you know, of course, the most obvious thing, these Daily Wire and all these things are just very, very well-funded propaganda machines. And this is just like another one of their little wedge issues.
Party.
This guy's like YouTube channel views are absolutely they're absolute madness. I mean, one has 58,000. Biden yells at reporters. The next one, 500,000. I mean, so he has 1 million in 4 days. 5 days ago, 27,000. I don't know if even the Dr. Phil bump can save this level of charisma. Okay? So here's the video that got 1 million views.
There's the extreme approach with the language change. And it just is awkward. And so they're afraid of not being courteous or being accepting. So there's like these two things. There's actually combating and not being, you don't like transgender, the idea of transgender. That's different than pronouns. But then just for most people, it's just feeling a little bit awkward and unsure and not wanting to hurt or offend somebody.
Well, why is it important for educators to teach about gender identity, gender presentation, and pronouns? Why do you think that's important? Adderall is speed.
Because there is a difference. There is biological sex, and a lot of times people are conflating sex and gender. So there's biological sex, and then there's gender, and that's a social construct.
Dr. Phil's world is definitely very strange. The Dr. Phil universe seems to exist in its own weirdly lit and just odd plane of existence. So he has this professor on who's like, yeah, like gender is one thing, and then chromosomes and all this stuff is another thing. Like very, very simple. Like she's very, very simply and slowly explaining this. So nothing too shocking, but then it goes into probably one of the most, maybe one of the more bizarre moments even on Dr. Phil's program.
But this is a logical problem. You are conflating sex and gender just by saying that. So that's the problem.
So this lady, this professor, she's like, your view's a little bit extreme. This idea that gender and sex, biological sex, are inseparable. She's like, that's a little bit extreme, that view. And he goes, I think my boy here might have panicked because he's like, I'm going to get a lot of views from this. This might be my career. Probably Ben Shapiro before he went on this.
This is big. Don't mess this up, moron. This is Dr. Phil.
Because Dr. Phil and Ben Shapiro are friends. They're like bros. So I guarantee Ben Shapiro's,
Don't ruin this. Don't mess this up. I got you a Dr. Phil, moron.
So I think he might have panicked because she's like, this view that you have here that gender and biological sex are somehow inseparable, that's a little extreme. He's like, how is my view extreme? The view that everybody held until 15 minutes ago.
The view that every single person on Earth has held up until 15 seconds ago is extreme.
Yeah, dude, that doesn't make sense. Not everybody held that view. Definitely. I mean, you're talking to a professor who does not hold that view, and then the two other people too.
This is a logical problem. You are conflating sex and gender just by saying that. So that's the problem.
There's biological sex, and then there is gender identity. Part of me wants to ask why you care so much.
Okay. All right.
That fact's a lot. Logic.
Sound logic here. He's like, I mean, this one's just interesting just from a, like forget trans rights or any of that. Just what's going on in that brain? So I guess his argument here is, well, this phrase, trans women are women, proves that biological sex and gender are inseparable. Because when you say trans women are women, I guess he's saying you're assuming you're talking about what he's talking about. I mean, that's a great logic trick, just to be like, oh, you know the thing that I mean? That's what you mean. Also, when you say women, it means solely like chromosomes or whatever. It's like I walk into somebody's apartment and I'm like, this is my apartment. And they're like, get out of my apartment. And I'm like, exactly. I'm not going anywhere. Because as we've already established in my sort of twisted noodle brain. This is my apartment. I really do wonder about this, if this is just he panicked on TV or something and it just got mixed up and he's like, I'll just throw something together. Or he's just like, look, as long as I'm kind of generally hitting the point on this, which is that these trans people are weird or whatever, then I don't really have to make sense that much. It just kind of has to sound logic-y or something.
There's biological sex, and then there is gender identity. Part of me wants to ask why you care so much, because it's really not that big of a deal.
Oh, yeah. Can I answer that?
Look at Phil. Phil is just thinking about where he's going to get dinner after this. Look at Phil.
Where people care about the truth and we're grounded in truth. I care about children, and these insane ideas about gender are being foisted on kids, and that bothers me quite a bit.
But this is a great one too. This is actually kind of where this stuff gets kind of interesting. He's like, I don't want this foisted on children, but by this, I guess he means anything in a school for kids that would imply that gender and biological sex are not like fused, I guess, would be foisted upon them. The problem is that there is actually some pretty good research on this, that and of course the real foist would be very strict gender identities. That's been foisted for a long time. This is from a study on this exact subject from about 3 or 4 years ago. A recurring theme in conversations with adolescents and adults was those who defied gender expectations, resulting in, quote, significant sanctions and pressures to conform, the study said. So, just to summarize, he's kind of unable to establish what he's talking about. Like, what's being foisted on kids? The idea that gender and biological sex of some kind are not inextricably fused. Is that the problematic thing that's being taught in schools? And then, if you're worried about just things being foisted on kids, definitely anything that can ease this, like, just intense, bizarre pressure to conform is awesome for young kids. Because then you're going to have less of them like, oh, I don't fit this strict definition of blah, 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 blah. Oh no, I want to die now. And everything's wrong and I'm alienated and nobody wants to be my friend. That's not a good outcome. Anything to ease that kind of thinking is going to be good. Okay? That's just in my opinion. I mean, I think it's probably obvious to most people, but there is a lot of research about this that you can read, that these, like, rigidly enforced gender expectations make a lot of people go cuckoo. Actually, people are really taking the bait on this one. I cannot find one not pro Matt Welch. I cannot find one anti-Matt Walsh comment in here. I found another really dope, as the kids say, dope. Found another really tight video by this guy. Check this. Get prepared to have your shoes knocked out off your feet by this one.
Well, as you might expect. We'll talk about all that and more today on The Matt Walsh Show.
Yeah. Woo! Dude, what is this intro, dude? Let me explain something to you, my bro. You are on YouTube. You are not Ellen, you idiot you. Print out this screenshot, okay, and then tape it up on your, in your bathroom, and every morning say, no, I'm on YouTube.
Protect your savings. Text Walsh to 989898 to get a free info kit on holding gold in a tax-sheltered account. Then call Birch and protect your hard-earned savings. Again, text Walsh to 989898 to get your free info.
Oh, hell yeah. This transphobe online told me to buy gold. That's a sound investment advice.
Info kit now. Now, DePaul is, of course, just the latest alleged Christian institution to fully endorse the left's sexual ideology. Most Christian universities have gone down this path. Great many churches have as well. I drove by a church just yesterday here in Nashville with a giant rainbow flag and BLM logo hanging outside. Now, a gay pride flag on a church was unthinkable as recently as a decade ago.
Unfortunately, we don't have enough time to listen to the rest of this story, but long story short, he got out of his car, tried to take those flags down. They caught him. The priests and the janitors or whatever who worked at the church caught him. They chased him. Eventually, they found out who his parents are, and they told him he's grounded now. No Nincenjo for a week for old Matt Walsh.
You would have had to wander into the most radical parts of San Francisco or, Portland or Seattle or something to see something like that. Now it's totally commonplace everywhere in the country, red and blue states alike. Canada essentially criminalized Christianity last week, as you heard about on this show. You didn't hear about it many other places, but we talked about it. When their dystopian conversion therapy bill went into effect, threatening pastors with half a decade in prison if they preach about Christian sexual ethics from the pulpit. It was, and is, the complete collapse of religious liberty in the country.
Make pee-pee.
I don't know if you heard that. The first time I kind of missed it. He's like, they're banning Christianity in Canada. And then he said some other stuff. I was like, wow, that seems like it's probably hyperbolic. And if I look into this, I'm sure there's some details that are being left out. Or maybe not, probably not. Canada has banned, as many states in the United States have, conversion therapy under Bill C-4. And here are some of the things you're not allowed to do. Subjecting another person to conversion therapy, including providing conversion therapy to that person. Removing a child from the country with the intention of sending them to conversion therapy outside of Canada. Ooh, that's horrifying. Promoting or advertising conversion therapy. Receiving a financial or other material benefit from the provision of conversion therapy. Could you imagine? Oh my God. That's some real private prison type ass HIT right there. This is one of those things where it's like shocking that there needs to be a law about it. This is kind of weird about the Canadian law, though. Anyone convicted of causing another person to undergo conversion therapy faces a prison term up to 5 years, while individuals who promote, advertise, or materially benefit from conversion therapy may face up to 2 years in prison. I feel like it should almost be the opposite. Like if you're making a bunch of money out, you're like, yeah, I'll traumatize some young people and probably permanently psychologically damage them
For money.
But if you're just some like kooky Meemaw, some kooky 75-year-old Meemaw who grew up, who grew up in some like homophobic whatever, and you're just like, I just want the best for blah, 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 and this is the only thing you get to think of, maybe you just toss that ass in prison for 2 years on that one. What would I do? This is the question I ask myself many times.
Adderall is speed.
If advertisers pumped as much money, like lunatic right-wing kooks pumped as much money for me as they did for this guy, and I only got 22,000 views on a video when I have over 500,000 subscribers that they paid for, would I jump off a bridge? That's one of the questions for the ages. It's not unlike many of the questions that Socrates asked back in the Socrates times. I've heard rumors about Socrates that he's always asking these questions. People are like, enough, Soc. Okay? We're just trying to relax. We don't need you grilling us on everything, you robed idiot. Well, there we go, guys. An odd doofus, an odd internet weirdo who we like to look at on videos, and we like to say this. And then, we're like, wow, that was so great that now I need to go
beat a kid in Walmart.
Many people do beat a kid at Walmart, okay? But some of them, they don't want to get caught. They will just kind of pretend like it's an accident. Many of them will pretend like it's an accident. They will kind of hit the kid with their cart on purpose. Guys,
Adderall is speed.
So guys, please, okay, it's a new week. It's a new you. Don't forget to beat a kid at Walmart, okay?
Party.
And I will see you.
Uber cars.
That doesn't make it. I will see you.
What a pervert.
I will see you perverts later. Hey guys, you're only getting a fraction of the weekly shows. If you want a new motherfucking episode every day, subscribe on Patreon for as little as 2 bones. You get the patron-only Tuesday and Thursday shows, the Bookablega show where we look at important books, and the goddamn weekly behind-the-scenes show. And for only 25 bones, you could become a producer and get your name up here. Look at these people. These people make this show possible. If it wasn't for them, nothing. We don't have a show. We got nothing, and it's garbage. And we have to just leave. We have to just basically walk away, and we don't even really know where we're walking. That's the truly troubling part about all this. But please, become a patron today. For as little as 2 bones, or 5 bones is another level, or 10, or you go the full 25 and you get up here. Big special thanks to these people. Love you guys so much.